And when did you first meet Joe Exotic? Because, I mean, I saw the show, but a lot of people might not have.
I've never even spoken to him. So the idea of there being like this huge feud between us was
Yeah.
ridiculous. We had to sue him because he was using our name and people were thinking that it was us out at these malls doing this cub petting. And so we had to stop him from using our name. But even during that, I've only ever been in the same room with him, I think 5 times. And 4 of those were in courtrooms where I never spoke to him. And one of them was at an event in Ohio where they were going to change the laws so that people couldn't have lions and tigers in their backyards. And of course, I was there on the side against having lions and tigers in your backyard. And he was there on the side of having lions and tigers in your backyard. And he attacked this little old lady that I knew that was the head of the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. So I got in between the 2 of them to stop him from coming at her. But that's the only interactions we've had.
Because, like,
Wow.
the show kind of made it out to be like you guys were at war for a long time.
People say that my name was on his lips for years, and I know that from his little YouTube show that he would do each night.
Oh, yeah.
He'd rant and rave and scream. But I never did anything like that back to him. And even though the producers of Tiger King kept trying to bait me into saying something nasty about him personally, I just wasn't willing to do it. And so if you can't, if your whole thing is you're trying to pitch a feud and you have one person that's feuding and the other person is like, no, I want to talk about the issues, then I think the only thing they could do is to try and paint me as this villain who drove him to madness.
It's crazy how they can portray someone like that. Can you tell me what it was like coping with the pandemic while being in the spotlight?
I'm kind of glad that it happened at the same time. I mean, not that I would want a pandemic to happen at any time, but I'm such a recluse and I don't like to go out in public anyway. And so by virtue of being, as you said, famous, I don't really feel like it's famous. It's something else. It's not like, famous for people that are talented and that go out and try to entertain and gain fame. But by having that thrust upon me, I was glad that it was during a time when I could wear a mask, I could stay at home. I didn't have to go out in public that much. So it happened at a good time for me.
Okay.
Yeah, the documentaries almost came out simultaneously with COVID last March when we all started getting shut down. And then boom, all of a sudden Tiger King came and it was like the first real show that we all got to binge watch last year during lockdowns.
Yeah, we had shut the sanctuary down on March the 15th due to COVID because not only did we not want our people to catch it, but they started finding that cats could catch it. And we didn't want to expose our cats to it. And so that was on March 15th. And on March 20th was when Tiger King came out. So there was only this 5-day window between the 2.
Wow. And how would you say it affected your mental health being portrayed as like the bad guy?
I don't really take it personally because I feel like what they did was for financial gain. And I can't anyway blame people for doing what they do. I think people do the best that they can. And that I believe we reincarnate and that we keep coming back until we get it right. And so I feel like we're all on a path toward being better people. And maybe they just need a few more laps around the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
And can you also tell me a little bit about the nasty feedback after Tiger King came out, like the threats and how it affected you?
Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe it. My husband and I sat there because we binge watched it. And at the end of it, we just looked at each other and said, well, that was a missed opportunity because we're thinking, they just missed the total point that these animals are suffering and we're going to lose the tiger in the wild in the next few years if we don't stop all of these private breeding and discarding, which is, fueling the trade for them and their parts. And that puts more pressure on them in the wild. And while we're sitting there thinking this, my phone started ringing and it rang. It must have been every 2 minutes for the next 3 months with people just screaming obscenities at me and saying that they wanted me dead, that they wanted my family dead. They wanted to kill the cats. And then I was like, wait, what? The cats? Why do you want to kill the cats? And they would say that it was because they felt like these cats would rather be dead than be in cages. And I absolutely agree with them that these animals do not belong in cages. But what Tiger King failed to tell anybody is that if they're born in a cage, they're doomed to the rest of their life in a cage, because you can't release them after they've been handled by people and in captivity. And so these animals that we rescue are stuck in cages for the rest of their lives. But our goal is to end the breeding and the exploitation of these cats so that there's no cats to rescue, so that we don't have to be here. There shouldn't have to be a place that rescues cats from a horrible situation. We should just be better people than that and not do horrible things.
Was there ever going to be a season 2 of Tiger King? Because I read somewhere that you talked about that.
The producers had reached out to me and said that they wanted to clear the air, and there's been a number of people that said they were that they've been talking to the producers on a season 2. But I told them, lose my number. You obviously, I don't think they cared at all about what was the truth, and there's no reason to believe that they're any more enlightened now, a year later, than they were then.
No, exactly. It's hard to go back on someone when they did that to you, stabbed you in the back, basically.
Yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember all that horrible stuff that was happening to you. I mean, Joe made his song, and there's another Canadian guy named Mercules that made a song. I don't know if you ever heard that song, but yeah, I saw the way you were being portrayed after the show came out, and basically for the last year we've been trying to get you on, because I knew that you I watched another interview that you did. You seemed very nice, and it wasn't the way that it was portrayed to make you seem like a bitch. Sorry to use the word, but yeah, it wasn't. I didn't like the way that they portrayed you. Portrayed.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, I think they were masterful in the way that they did it. And on that page that I mentioned earlier, bigcatrescue.org/Netflix, I would go through minute by minute and say, at this point where they're trying to make me look, vicious, or like I'm saying something or acting negatively, they're slowing the camera down, or doing this sinister look, in response to something somebody else has just got through saying. But I'm obviously not in the same room with them. I'm not reacting to them, but they're piecing these things together to make it look like that. And I think they did just an unbelievably good job of fooling people. And I think that's why so many people were fooled. And I think it's going to be a hard thing for people to ever get past, because once you've been misled, and especially if you engaged in all of the sharing of the memes and the TikTok songs and all of that cruelty, then it's going to be really hard for people who have participated in that to ever say that they could have been wrong. And so I think it'll be easier for them to just, block out any new information that might make them look like they had been duped.
Exactly. Is there still 55 cats there?
We have 51 cats here, and we just lost a tiger a few days ago, and so that was really hard. She was a big favorite here, a white tiger named Sapphire.